This is Rachel Dworkin from the Chemung County Historical Society. Today is March 13th, 2023. I am here interviewing Mary O'Leary about her experience during the blizzard of 1993. Mary, can you tell us a little bit about, where you were living in 1993 and what the situation was?
That blizzard was awful. I was living on Gray Street in Elmira, New York, and I had about 60 feet of sidewalk to shovel. So when we started out and there was a couple of inches of snow on the ground, I was just shoveling. But 3 days later, when there was 3 and 4 feet of snow out in my front yard, it was like shoveling through a tunnel because the snowbank on either side of the sidewalk was so high. It was probably close to 6 feet high. There just wasn't any place else to put the snow. 4 feet of snow is a lot. So it was just awful. It was freezing cold. The wind was terrible, and trying to shovel that stuff was a real exercise that I really don't like to think about very often.
Okay. So did you have ample warning that it was coming?
Yeah, the weather people here in Elmira are good. We knew it was coming. They say, get ready, get prepared, get water in, get ready because we're going to have a blizzard. And it was definitely a blizzard. So, but even with the warning, you can't stop it. If it's going to snow, it's going to snow. So,
yeah, but what kind of preparations did you wind up making? Did you make any?
Well, I didn't go to work. The roads were terrible. The stores weren't open because the roads weren't open. We were advised to stay off the roads. But in my house, I had the heat all the time it was going on, so I didn't have to worry about heat. I had plenty of food in the fridge. The water pressure was constant, so it wasn't like a residential breakdown. Everything I was doing at home was fine. But you were kind of required to keep your sidewalk clear. And just down from me was a fire hydrant. It was actually in the front yard of the house next door to me. But in order to get to it, they had to keep the snow around the fire hydrant cleared out because you never know if it's needed. That's an emergency thing. So my neighbors were also out shoveling snow and snow blowing snow, and it was just dreadful. You couldn't put the snow anyplace because there was so much of it. And preparation, I really didn't have to do anything except stay inside where it was warm.
Okay.
I mean, even the television kept working, and they kept saying, don't go out on the roads if you don't have to. We know that's kind of a typical thing to do.
So you had mentioned that the equipment they were using when they were clearing the streets when we were talking earlier?
Downtown Elmira, when the storm finally passed away and the sunshine started in and started melting the snow, the crew of the Elmira City Street crew was out clearing the downtown streets so that people could get around. And one thing I remember from that was they had to shave the snowbanks at the side of the road in order to allow enough room for 2 cars to pass, or 2 trucks to pass, or 2 SUVs to pass. There was hardly any room on the road, so they had this kind of gadget that they had attached to the snowplow that would actually shave the snowbank so that it was flat. It looked like a board of snow. And it was, I was out driving, and the car ahead of me, an SUV ahead of me, and an SUV oncoming both stopped in opposite directions, but they both pulled their side view mirrors in. I know their model of SUV had some kind of a gadget on the inside where you pushed a button and the side view mirror rolled flat to the side of the car. But they had to do that so that they could pass each other without breaking the side view mirror off the vehicle. That's how little space there was on the roads. Of course, that changed within a week. It changed because they started moving the snow right off the streets and dumping it in the river or wherever they do that, empty lots and things like that. But it's unforgettable when you see people, side view mirrors on a car, just releasing and going flat to the car. I don't know if they make that model anymore, but it's been a while.
Was there any flooding afterwards as a result of the snow melt or no?
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. There was flooding. I don't remember anything particular about that except, again, the city was saying, stay away from the river. It's flooding. We have a lot of snow melt. it's a raging river because it was so full of water. But those were reports that you get over with the television or on the car radio or something like that. So I was living, let's see, I would be probably 3 blocks from the river. So and I was up on a knoll, so the water didn't come into that area of the street so much, but the people who lived down by the river had flooding in their basements just because of the runoff and the snow melt, and it didn't go away in a day or two. You put 4 feet of snow out there, and it was all over the area. It wasn't like downtown Elmira. It was like county wide, 5 counties wide. It was a terrible blizzard, and the people down by the river really had to be careful about flooding in their basements.
So you were telling me about your neighbor, Mrs. Kennedy?
Oh, Mrs. Kennedy, she's so delightful, yeah. She lived across the street. She was an elderly. Well, she wasn't elderly because she was always chipper, but I'll call her a senior citizen. I think she was probably 90 that year.
Mm-hmm.
And she came out on the porch to see all the snow, and I was out on my porch getting ready to do some shoveling. And she called across the street to me. You know how older people do. They go, "Yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo, Mary. Come on over. We'll have tea." And I said, I called back to her as best I could because she couldn't hear very well. But I said, "I can't come over, Mrs. Kennedy. The snow is too deep." And she said, "Yoo-hoo, Mary, come on over." She was funny. And I just finally convinced her that I couldn't because you can't walk through 4 feet of snow. So I couldn't go over and have tea with her that afternoon, but I did a different day after the snow went away.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add about your experience during that?
No, I don't want to add anything. I just want to forget about it.
Your kids weren't in school then, were they?
My daughter had gone off to college, so she was at college. She was up in Rochester. She was away from that storm. Rochester didn't get that storm as far as I know. But this is a storm that I just don't like to think about. So, no, I don't have anything else to add.
All right.
End of story.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, sure.